Hi, my name's Sheldon Livesay. I'm the director for Of One Accord Ministry, and we work with the churches that are Christian churches all around us right here. We work with all of those churches, and some people come to me and they say, but is this church better than that church? Meaning, is Baptist better than Methodist? I don't know, because they baptize different, or there's little beliefs about this different or that different. And has it ever occurred to you that that might not be how God even looks at it at all? And the only way that I have of knowing, other than He says in His Word that He wants us to be one, even as He and the Father are one. That means one. So the Baptist needs to be one with the Methodist and the Presbyterian and the Catholic and the Church of Christ and the Assembly of God and Church of God and all of the flavors that we have. He wants us to be one together, even as Jesus and the Father's one. So this is what God showed me one time, and I wasn't even asking for it. I was minding my own business, and many times that's what I'm doing when God tries to explain something to me. But I'm driving up the road from here to Kingsport, Tennessee. I live in Rogersville. So in East Tennessee, there's mountain ranges that lie in parallel areas, and then you can put a roadway in between. So I'm going up a 4-lane, and there's a mountain range on the right side and one on the left side. And God just out of nowhere says, what's a walnut tree good for? What? I know I would never ask myself a question like that in 100 years. So this has to be God, I guess. So I'm saying, did I hear you right? What did you ask? We've got a really good relationship. So we kid with each other sometimes, but I'm saying, what did you ask? And he said, what's a walnut tree good for? And I said, did I hear you right? Are you asking me what a walnut tree is good for? And he says, what's a walnut tree good for? And I said, well, Lord, a walnut tree is one of the most beautiful woods there is. And I love walnut furniture. It's very expensive. So if you have walnut furniture, the texture, the grain is just beautiful. And then he went on and he said, what is a cherry tree good for? And I'm thinking, well, Lord, a cherry tree, I really like the color of cherry wood better than even walnut wood. It's a very luxurious grain. I love kitchen cabinets that are cherry colored. I love furniture that are cherry wood. And I explained that to him. And then he said, what is an ash tree good for? I didn't really know what an ash tree was good for. He went through some I did and some I didn't. He said, what's an oak tree good for? And I said, well, you make furniture out of oak, but it's a good solid wood. It's a wood that doesn't warp. It's just a very good wood. And I explained that. And then he said, what's a cedar tree good for? And he ended by saying, what's a pine tree good for? And I told him about the pine woods. It's a wood that's used in the 2x4s. It's used for a lot of things. It's a softer wood, but you also make furniture out of pine wood. So I explained all of that. And then just as I was going on up the road and he had got my attention here, he said, well, where is the pine forest? Look out there on the side, going up and down the road on either side. Tell me where the pine forest is. I said, there's not a pine forest. He said, well, tell me where the walnut forest is. And I said, Lord, there's not a walnut forest. There's walnut trees scattered all up and down these mountains. There's pine trees scattered all up and down these mountains, as well as the other trees that you talked about, but they're not in one place. And he said, well, then who owns these trees out here? And I said, well, they're divided up. There's farms, and I'm trying to figure out now what God is trying to get across to me. So I said, there's farms. They've got fences around them. That's a border that shows that that farm is different than the next farm is different than the next farm. And so then he said something profound. He said, well, show me one of them. Show me one of the borders. Now, even though I was on the road and the mountain range was back there, it was far enough that I couldn't even see the fence. I just knew that they were there. I couldn't see it. And I said, well, Lord, I can't see it from here. And you know what he said to me? As profound as it is, he said, and I can't see it from here either. Now, what was he trying to tell me? He was trying to tell me that in his church of people, he has different people that are gifted different. Some are like walnut and some are like cherry. Some are like pine and some are like cedar. Different giftings in the church. You don't pull everybody that's a servant. You don't pull everybody that's an administrator or a teacher. You don't pull all of those in one church. They're scattered out in all the churches. So instead of looking at churches according to the way we think of, the way we baptize, there are little bitty differences in the way I sing traditional songs and this one over here sings contemporary songs. He looks at the church as his gifted people doing his work and his calling. And I said, from where I'm at, my perspective is I can't see the differences. I can't see what divides them. And he says, and I can't see them from here either. He doesn't see us as Baptist or Methodist, as Pentecostal or Catholic. He sees us as his people that are gifted to do his calling here on this earth. And I don't know about you, friends, but that excites me. One is that my God, my Father in heaven, told me. He taught me a lesson. And the second is that it's profound. That what we think of as the differences on earth, he doesn't even see from his perspective. He wants us to be as one, even as he, Jesus, and the Father are one. Isn't that profound? And as he brings us together, and we are as one, according to Genesis 11, I think verse 6, he says, and nothing will be restrained of them that they have imagined to do. And that's why we named the ministry that God has allowed me to be a part of in birth, we call it Of One Accord. Because impossible things can become possible when you come together in one accord and work together across denominational lines. Friends, thank you for allowing me to share that thought with you today. God bless you, and you have a great day.